Hey, it's Citizen Cosmos. We're Serge and Anna, and we discover Cosmos by chatting with awesome people from various teams and communities. Join us if you're curious how dreams and ambitions become code.
Hi everyone, Serge and Anna here again, and today we're going to chat with Harriet Cao, who is the co-founder of IRISnet and the founder of Bianjie AI. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And welcome to the show, Harriet. Very happy to speak to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for inviting me to the podcast. So it is my really great pleasure to be here together with you all.
Yeah, thanks. You're not a very easy person to find. We spent a few weeks trying to find you, but we found you finally and very happy to have you. You must be very busy.
Yes, indeed. Like it is very busy. A lot of development work going on, and also ecosystem is expanding. And I guess also other thing is I don't check Telegram very often. I usually do that once a day. So that's why like you might find me delay by one day in responding sometime.
Yeah, it's a good thing though, isn't it? If you're busy, it means that everything is working. So that is a good thing. I'm gonna jump to a question straight away. I found different information about you. Before I start asking different questions, first question that I have always for people is how did you start with IRISnet? How did the project begin? What is the history? How did you start to do it? What was the idea? Anything you want to say?
Actually, I always hesitate a little bit just talking about myself because for IRISnet, it has been I think it's more than 3 years journey altogether. And so there are a lot of work has been put together by the team from the community. It might be easy. I can start it from my story and the journey, like how we get to blockchain and then how we decide to start on Iris project. Actually, before I work for my startup, I used to be leading IBM research in Shanghai, and all my career has been focusing on heavy computing on data and enterprise and how to leverage the data, do more smart enterprise applications. So I always feel like there should be a better way to support the collaboration among the different parties. So by this way, we can solve many challenges such as like data privacy, the ownership. Yeah, because my past job is all about data. So that's why like I got very excited in 2016 when I see like the early version of Ethereum. So I saw like blockchain is the perfect foundation to support all these requirements such as collaboration and privacy protection. So that's why I got excited and also very lucky. I got the support from Wanxiang blockchain and they were our angel investor. We just started a team in Shanghai, but very soon, I guess like if everyone remember 2016, at that time, the blockchain is indeed very immature. As soon as when we are trying to use that for the real world applications, we found none of that really work. So later on, like I might also share with you more how we found Tendermint. And so that's why we started to use like Tendermint to trying to build the foundation. And so we are doing some really interesting work with our collaborators. And then later on, we encourage it and also supported by many great minds in the field, such like Jay and also Ethan Bucky. And so we found like some of our foundational work, such as the service layer we build, could be helpful to other people. So that's why we started to do the better productization and to bring like the service layer into the blockchain. And then we started to build the IRISnet. I hope that is a short story about how we get started with blockchain and then how we landed on IRISnet project.
That sounds really exciting. But one question I just understand is how did you get into it personally? I mean, you said 2016, you said you're working with IBM, and I was going to ask you that later, but it's good that you already mentioned it. But still, how did you suddenly, because I'm not going to lie, I went on your LinkedIn and I went to look what you did before, and you had like a jump there from IBM suddenly to blockchain. Like, how did it happen? Where was the connection? What made you jump from one of the biggest and most promising, biggest companies that probably, where they have good conditions and everything, and go and do startups? I mean, that sounds crazy.
I think to me it is very nature. I have already been working with IBM research for more than 16 years and in various positions, but I have always been working on the technology field. I have to say, I'm very grateful working with all the most smart mind from IBM research. And just like later, when I get into more senior management level position in IBM, like I was the director for IBM Research Lab in Shanghai, and I just feel the urge. I want to, how should I say, I can see more direct impact of technology to our industry. I want to because in a startup, I think the most beautiful thing is you actually can define what you want to do. And so that's why I decided I want to do a startup, because we feel like we found a great area we can make impact. And then also very luckily we also got the financial support, say from Wanxiang and also from another collaborator. I just feel like it's really nice, and I want to take the risk, and just want to kind of have this opportunity. We can do something we can define what it should be look like and have more direct impact.
That makes a lot of sense to me personally. And
yeah, I think it's a big step, to be honest with you. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between corporate and decentralized working environments. Could you tell us how you personally distinguish the pros and cons of being in each of one of them?
I think that is really a great question, because it is so different. In the corporate, of course, for the working environment, it is very centralized, and sometimes, of course, you feel it could be. It has some efficiency, because especially in IBM, I remember if we want to solve a challenge, and if there is an area I'm not familiar with, and if I just open up what we call the blue page, it's kind of like an IM, so look up directory, so I could always find an expert, and then I can connect with them on the IM and ask questions. So with a big corporate, sometimes you feel it is very easy. You get a lot of resource, and it is just provided by the platform. And in working in the decentralized world, and also working in the startup, of course, as a founder, I found there is an immediate switch. All of a sudden, you need to really find your way in the decentralized world, how to leverage the help and the support. But once you are really getting into that, then you found the great power of the decentralized world, because from the GitHub, also from the community, and then that type of collaboration is so different from a big corporate. You are no longer just bound by an organization. You are not just working for a revenue KPI. So people are tied together by the vision, by the value they focus on. And so then that actually build up a stronger bonding, actually enable more efficient collaboration. So that is a good part of the decentralization. It's so with a lot of, how should I say, very vivid, full of life. But of course, another shortcoming of the decentralized world is the part I see lack of efficiency, because people are working for their interest. Sometimes if there's a big challenge, or sometimes if people lose the interest, then you found it's hard for the execution efficiency, because all of a sudden that people you feel you want to depend on, he or she just disappear. That's the part I found for the decentralized world. So it's really good and bad, both aspects. But has been a really very fun journey. I really enjoy that.
And you feel that you can be more self-realized in decentralized sphere, yeah? Like you're as a person.
Yes. Yep.
So it's cool feeling.
Exactly.
I know what you mean, because I came into blockchain professionally. Well, shall I say professionally? I don't know if that's the correct word. In 2016 or something like that, at the same time as you, 15, 16 maybe. And I came from a corporation as well, from a big corporation. And even though I was doing blockchain, I wasn't doing it for work. I was doing it for just enjoying myself. And the first thing that I noticed is the big difference between working for, like what you said, when you start with blockchains, you start to understand that it's a bigger mechanism and an organism that has so many little things to it, and sometimes it's hard to focus. I agree. Sometimes it's very hard to focus. But talking about revenues, you mentioned revenues there. I've read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Iris is a non-profit company. I'm not the person who cares about legalities. I'm one of these people, blockchain people, who thinks code is the law. But still, why no profit? Why did you decide to go for no profit rather than profit?
IRISnet is a project, so we do have IRIS Foundation that is non-profit, and so it is set up like the governance and also by law. So it is only managing the resource and trying to use that resource to develop IRISnet. But we do have a technology company registered in China, so that's a traditional, how should I say, like equity-based company, and so that is called Bianjie. Bianjie is for profit. Since you are quite familiar with Cosmos, so just think like Iris Foundation is like ICF, non-profit, but all in bits, or like called Tendermint Inc. That is for profit, and Bianjie is for profit. Bianjie is our current developers. They are currently in China because they will need, how should I say, like the social. Yeah, so basically, like you need to have a company in China to support them for a lot of social security. So that's why we have Bianjie in Shanghai. That is for profit.
That makes sense now, because I have a lot of questions about Bianjie, and I mispronounced it at the beginning, but now I understand how it connects. And I've been to China before, and I've been to China for work, and I can understand very well what you mean when you say about social security and about the legalities. Even though, like I said, I have a very different view, I can totally understand that. And my next question from this will be in particularly to Iris Hub, because Iris puts itself as a hub, not a zone. And lately in Cosmos, there was a lot of conversations about zones, hubs, competitions. What kind of hub does Iris Hub want to be? Who does it want to attract? Who's its customer? What is its product?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, because I know like we have been asked many times why like they need more hubs in Cosmos. And I want to first answer the question like why we need more hubs, many hubs, and instead just one, and then I will also explain what the value Iris Hub want to bring to the Cosmos ecosystem. One thing I really like the Tendermint and the Cosmos architecture is its very open design. And for Cosmos, and actually one thing I feel like quite different with comparing with the other framework or the other project like Polkadot, it is its open architecture. Actually, just from the design, it enables you to build like the multi-hubs and multi-zones. And so when I first heard this word, I think that was in late 2017. So basically, I want to say like the Iris Hub, the design of that, we got a lot of inspiration from the members like Jay Kwan, and also like Ethan Bucky and Zaki. And we had a lot of discussion in 2017 and early 2018. So that was really a beautiful time. I really missing that. I remember like at that time, we all discussed for Cosmos, it is a decentralized internet of blockchains. And we don't want to have another central, just one hub, because if one hub failed, and it's just a single point of failure. So that's why from the very beginning, there's a vision for multi-hub. And the Iris Hub, when we decided the design, it is want to exercising to have the multi-hub collaboration. And today we are still thinking very hard on the hub economics, how to make like multiple hubs work together in a good way to secure the internet of blockchains. So that is the value proposition I think like Iris Hub should bring in, really to be a good, I see like the citizen, that is the name of our podcast. So we want to be a good citizen of the internet of blockchains, and we want to work together with other hubs to provide the enhanced security to the network. And also besides, we also want to provide unique values to the ecosystem. And that part, what we feel is our strength in building the complicated distributed business applications, which involve the heavy computing. It's not only just can be solved by on-chain logics. In many cases, it involves the computation. You have to tie in resource from off-chain, from like the other blockchain. So that is why like the iService, that is the unique layer Iris Hub provides, it actually becomes its value and its power has been realized by more and more people these days. So that's why like we started on Iris Hub, the value we want to bring in.
I definitely agree. I don't know if this is correct, but this is just a personal opinion. I think that at least the way I imagine it is like a galaxy, and each galaxy has its own, let's say, purpose, right? Maybe one galaxy is for healthcare, and another galaxy is for AI, and so on and so forth. And all these zones, they will find the hub that they're looking for.
Could you just highlight, maybe in a couple of words, the differences between hubs for the moment? How you see that?
So as I mentioned, besides of the role, trying to collaborate with Cosmos Hub and just trying to like even like to support and cover each other if anything gets wrong. That is just only one purpose. But the other more important part is, for example, the application blockchains in Asia Pacific or like in China, they will find it is easier to work with Iris Hub, just because like we are in the same geo, and even like for different hubs, for example for Iris Hub, we decide we want to provide a lot of support to heavy applications. So we have additional modules such as service layer, and such as like the coin swap and multi-assets and all these things. And sometimes like it is very difficult, say like if we only have one hub, and then for the governance, for people agree to take all those capability. But for the separate hub, then it is always easier. We can try out the different focus. And Iris Hub want to focus on to support the distributed business applications, and also want to support Asia Pacific. So that's why even today, a lot of our collaborators, it is in Asia Pacific.
Yeah, thank you. So for the moment, I welcome only Pacific Asia region projects, or every project welcome to come to your hub, and you will happy to see another project.
Actually, I think like the beauty of blockchain is open, and we are very open to every collaborators from anywhere with any background, as long as we feel there's mutual values it can establish through the collaboration. Focus on the Asia Pacific is only from like the ecosystem development part. So if we have to get into a physical meeting, then sometimes like it is easy for some project in China, but these days with more and more the virtual communication way people all get familiar with, we're also working quite globally. For example, we had the discussion with Kava team, Chainlink team, and so we are actually very open to work with anyone.
Yeah, it's definitely a beauty of blockchain.
Yeah, and we don't want to set any limits or like constraint. We want to be really very, very open. We also know like what is the things we can do more efficiently and better, but we always want to keep an open mind, and we want to try best find the good way to provide value to other projects, and also trying to find the value how the other things can bring to the interchain ecosystem.
This, I think, why we all here in the first place, right? To make it all as big as we can, the big universe, the centralized universe. But I have a slightly different question for you. I have one question about AI, because obviously, well, first of all, Bianjie is Bianjie AI, and you obviously were focused on AI. Right now, There is, to calculate good algorithms, we need a very high output. And the problem is with on-chain capabilities are still very limited. How do you see this connection of blockchain and AI right now? Do you think that, because I'm not going to name projects, I will ask you instead, because there is about what, like 8 projects that are to do with AI, and out of those 8, maybe 2 seem a little bit promising. But anyways, to me, every time I look at it, I think, okay, guys, but you have all these calculations, and somehow we only have all this much capability, on-chain capability. So what do we do? What do you think?
We do have the AI in our company name, but these days actually when we're branding the Bianjie, we usually just call the first part Bianjie. I want to share why we're doing that. When we started with Bianjie, as I mentioned, my background is on AI, and I was trained to be an AI practitioner. I actually studied robotics in Carnegie Mellon. So originally I thought I would just use blockchain to do the distributed data exchange and analytics. So that's why we had AI in our company name. But later on we found we have to do really a lot of work for the foundation. Instead, directly jump into the higher level application layer. Today, we are still doing a lot of data-related blockchain applications. Indeed, like Bianjie, as I mentioned, it is a profit company. So we have our business actually in 2 parts. One is IRISnet, provide technology development, and also we are developing consortium blockchain for our customers. And those projects involve a lot of data processing and privacy computing. So in terms of AI and blockchain, I feel like the easy way for AI and blockchain can work together. It's actually started with application-specific blockchain. Actually, that's really a non-story. I'm not so sure if I want to get into that. So I would think AI, if you want to really make it work, you have to get it work with the domain problems. There are many reasons for that, and also you need to work very closely with the data. So that's why I feel like application-specific blockchains rather than generic AI plus blockchain framework. And with that part said, use Iris SDK and Iris code base to build this type of application is very convenient, because that is what we are doing today. When we are doing those heavy data processing project, we have all this data crunching work as the off-chain processing service. And for on-chain, we just use that to collaborate and to coordinate the results and make the interaction can be trustworthy. So that's how we are doing that.
That does actually answer a few of the questions I had apart from that, but you did mention the word consortium, and I have read one of your interviews about Iris, and it had the words Iris Service Consortium Hub. I more or less understood, but I would like you to expand on that and maybe to explain to everybody who's going to listen to it. What does it mean?
I would say for a lot of our blockchain practitioners, you are all very familiar with the open public blockchain. But today, still for the enterprise, actually consortium blockchain also address many important requirements. For example, the security and also the governance requirements. So consortium blockchain makes a lot of sense. And we are actually building parallel product like Iris Hub. Iris Hub is an open interchain service hub. And we are also building another consortium blockchain product. Oh, by the way, we are also doing more branding, because we don't want to just give a separate name to all the application we build. Right now, we just rebrand all the, for example, the interchain service consortium blockchain. That is also a part of IRITA. So we actually call our enterprise version of the SDK and also the platform product, get that into the IRITA. So basically, it's just Iris Hub and also IRITA. IRITA is kind of like the Iris Hub's enterprise version, and that is the consortium version. And that one, it has a lot of enterprise required feature. For example, the ID management, the certificate authority, and also the privacy computing. We build the edge server, and also we already built the PRE server. So by this way, like the storage can be managed in a secure way and can protect the data privacy. So all these things is in IRITA. And for IRITA, like one example I want to use to show like why consortium blockchain also has its value. I'm not so sure if you read the news about China Blockchain Service Network.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Since like that is infrastructure in China and it's going to target for many domestic users. So consortium blockchain is going to play a very important role, and also like, I don't know if that is good or bad, but in China, for the applications, all the operator and user, KYC is needed. So that's why like CA and all these things. And of course, for IRITA, we are also building like several layers of security. Of course, on the network layer, there are blacklist and a whitelist, but I remember these days we should call it other name, so we probably shouldn't use blacklist or whitelist something.
I understand what you mean, so go on.
So for the consortium blockchain, just for the enhanced security, we built several layers of configurations, so it can be customized by the enterprise requirements. So that's why BSN currently is working together with us. We are going to build a consortium interchain service hub. And so by this way, all the service providers and service users, they can work with the certificate authority service. And also they can work with the data service. For example, like the Oracle service provided by Chainlink. All these type of things. But so you can think like IRITA, it's just like an enterprise version of Iris.
This kind of opens up a lot of questions. I don't know if we obviously have the time for all of them, but this is up to you. But the first question I have from this, because you talk a lot about specific cases, and I think that's correct, because obviously we've seen from information technology to everything else that modular environments work much better. And blockchain is a good example. So the obvious question that I have to ask, what are the use cases today? Who are the users of Iris SDK today? Is there any maybe AI projects or healthcare projects or someone who is already developing on Iris SDK, not on Cosmos SDK? Yeah,
so I would say like IRITA is built using like, I have to make it very concrete. Indeed, we did a soft fork of Cosmos SDK just because we want to add many more capabilities. And of course, we're also working with Tendermint team trying to upstream it for like those useful modules, and hopefully like that can be back to the Cosmos SDK and everyone can use it. But anyway, like on this soft fork of Cosmos SDK, we're adding more things like the service, and also like, for example, like those modules for privacy computing and for the ID management, and those things, they also being used to build IRITA. And also we use that SDK build many applications. Like one example is healthcare data exchange we build with Fosun. Fosun is one of the biggest healthcare conglomerate in China, and they have a subsidiary company called HealthLink, and the blockchain actually is built by us. We use the Iris SDK build that because it involves a lot of heavy off-chain computing, and iService play a very important role there. We also like worked with manufacturing company to build the supply chain finance blockchain. And for that one, like the account payable and invoice, and they can be created on the blockchain as a non-fungible asset. And that non-fungible asset can be then have this liquidity to help those small SMB to do the loan application. So that is another example, like we are using the Iris SDK.
This sounds good, because I think it doesn't matter if somebody who's listening to us is, I don't know if it's correct to say the word investor, but okay, whatever. If somebody is an investor into Iris or Atom or both, I think it's important to understand that we have a growing ecosystem, that it's not just because obviously we have a project as well. We obviously doing the same thing, and sometimes a lot of people ask us, okay, you have a lot of ideas, but where is the realization? And I think it's important for people who get into this ecosystem to understand that there are realizations, there is real use cases. The next thing I want to ask you, maybe the last working thing, and I have a couple of more questions, is obviously a hub is not just about SDK and everything else. There is also the governance part. And I think that you obviously noticed that lately in the Cosmos Hub, we've seen Proposal 25, Proposal 26, which have both been proposals to the community spend and are original ways of trying to use the community pool. Now, I have the same question. What is the plans for Iris Hub here? Is Iris Hub, does it have a community pool? If yes, how does it work? Can projects come and say, hey, I want to build on Iris, or I want to build something for whatever? How does it work with Iris?
I would give a lot of also credit actually back to the Cosmos. For the IRISnet, we learned a lot actually from the design of the Cosmos Hub. Like for example, like the governance and all these things. So of course, like Iris Hub also has the community pool, but because of if we have to look into the price of the Iris, so then the worth of the pool is not so big, because we do have the tax, and also like for example, like foundation's delegation, all the new block provision the foundation get, we actually donate that directly to the pool. So Iris Hub has a pool, but besides of that, there are even another nice thing. Since like Iris Hub is designed later than Cosmos Hub, so for the token economics design, from the beginning we actually reserved a big portion. We have about, I think it's 35% of the Iris token that is for the community development. And so if like people, we publish the address on Iris Foundation's the homepage. So the governance for that part is the token from the community development portion can only use on like to support the related application development or community development. So nobody should never, for example, foundation cannot never sell those tokens. Those tokens is really there for the developers, for the community builders. And we haven't do a good job to spend like a lot on the community fund portion. Although like we do have a few like grant programs such as the validator support program and also the community builder program, and also like for the application we actually funded a couple of applications already, and we're also very interested to working with many projects together, and people can all apply for. We have a lot of Iris token in the ecosystem community for that portion, and we want to use that to build Iris.
We already talked a little bit about specific of Pacific Asia region, and you mentioned that KYC is necessary. What other features of Pacific market you can highlight for the moment? Could you tell us a little bit more about this?
Right. So Anna, I think you get a really a very beautiful point. Like this is really a quite diverse and big world. Every region they have their different characteristics. And for China, I think there are many things. So it's hard to say it is good or bad, but there's a reason it is there. And we are trying to use the technology to make sure to support things are going to the good direction to really help people and support people. And in China, like of course for the enterprise, all these applications, as I mentioned, they are require like KYC, because by this way, the good part of that is then the whoever is providing service on the blockchain, and also for whoever is using that service, you know very clearly who is behind of that. By this way, then it is easier to, if there's a bad guy or whoever, like they are just enhanced layer of safety and security. So that's why in China, like the consortium blockchain, and I think like all the applications, the internet applications, they will all need to have the KYC. So that's why like we have ID management but consortium chain all need ID environment, because enterprise they want to know like who is using that service. Let me try to think about any other specific requirements especially in the China. I think the biggest part is really on this ID management. And of course, I have to say tokenless. In China, blockchain has to be tokenless, although I will give no comment if that is good or bad. But there's a reason behind that, and I'm very optimistic. So we want to be the builders. I think we just need to give more patience, and then when people understand the technology better, and then they will be more open to adopt it. So I'm very optimistic over the growth, but at this moment, it is all tokenless.
Yeah. Do you feel that blockchain is one of the technologies that's supported in your region?
My region, if say I'm currently in China, and I would say I'm very happy actually the blockchain gets the support from many layers, and so that part allows us to see the fast development of the technology. So it really gets our support. And so those things are really good, because in the past, without blockchain, there are just so many areas. It is so intransparent. You don't know what is going on. And there might be bad things happening. There might be something it's just manipulated by power. But with blockchain, even it's still consumption blockchain, it started to adding more transparency and efficiency into the interactions. I'm very happy to see that adoption of blockchain in China. It certainly is changing things.
That is true, because when I was, like I said, when I traveled to China, I think last time in 2018, and I was in different cities. I was in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, in different places, and there was a lot of, especially I think in Shanghai and Guangzhou, it felt like a lot of blockchain, but it was very specific. It wasn't like everywhere else. It wasn't like in Europe. It was a little bit different. It's a different vibe, but I can definitely say that one thing I did, at least felt, is that blockchain is more supported. I don't know if it's good or bad, but definitely blockchain in the South Asia region to me feels more supported on different layers of the state. So again, I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely understand. Now, I have a different question now, because we do want to understand a little bit about you, and before you run away, it sounds like you're very technological. It sounds like you had experience with IBM, with the blockchain, and with other things that I've seen. How did you choose technology? Why not doctor? Why not a politician? Why not a lawyer? I mean,
Actually,
I'm sorry to single you out, but I want to understand the story. I mean, why did you decide this?
Yeah, actually, you know what? My parents, they always wanted me to be a doctor, and they are trying to get me into the medical school. But actually, I backed out at the last moment when I'm filling in my application, because I just always loved math. And I love physics, and I was very good with that. I was not very good with English, not very good with Chinese, all these liberal arts and also history. So my mind is actually more engineering oriented. So that's why I really enjoyed so much my college study in Tsinghua and in Carnegie Mellon, and also my career in IBM. I really enjoy all the building process and the engineering process, and also I'm extremely happy I'm currently in blockchain technology. It's such a fun area, so many challenges you can solve.
Did you ever regret not becoming a doctor? Did you ever think that, oh my God, I would want to be a doctor, I would be happier than doing this?
The only regret I had is, if I was a doctor, then maybe at this time, just all my experience already, how should I say, because in the technology field, you always need to keep on learning. And they're just every year, every month, the new thing come up. Sometimes you feel okay, if I was a doctor, maybe I could just take a vacation and I don't need to, but I still enjoy the process of learning all these new things, and also especially building them, see them work. So that's the part I really enjoy.
But what about your parents? I mean, are they happy?
They wish I could be a doctor because I think now they're getting old. Like the healthcare service, I would say like it's always scarce resource. I wish like at least anything we could do, for example, from technology side, if we could help the healthcare system, and that's the part I want to do. Although I was not a doctor myself, but of course, I think parents they want their children to be doctor. They can get better healthcare support. But they are proud. They are very proud of me. So I'm happy for that.
So, and do you have any specific plan for your kids?
No, actually, my kids they are quite different from myself and my husband. Like both, like myself and my husband are all kind of like engineer, and my boy he's definitely a very good techie engineer. He's so good with robotics, and so I'm amazed with like the robot he built. I'm very proud of him. So he's probably will go into the engineering route. But my daughter, she's an artist. She like drawing. She like singing. So I think we want to give them just the flexibility, and we want them to do the things they like, they would enjoy for their whole life. So I think like kids, they're just so different. So they are coming out from the same parents, but my boy and my girl, they are just so different. But I'm very proud of them. They are all very good kids, very sweet.
Thanks for answering this because, I think it's cool to understand a little bit about the person. I think it opens up people to the project as well, personally. And before we let you go, I have somewhat of a traditional one last question to ask you, a traditional question. You've obviously been around blockchain for a long time as well. So the traditional question is, what is the 3 blockchain projects outside of Cosmos ecosystem, not top coin market cap, that you are excited about? You don't have to say 3, but at least some projects that you think are interesting.
I think it's probably there are many very brilliant ideas out there and exciting projects there. So I'm going just to say I feel like I'm more familiar with, and just because I got the opportunity to interact with the team member more. For example, Solana, their consensus. The design, I think that has new innovation and I really love it. And also for Near, like the high performance, and also so that project I also like. And also I like Platon. I'm not so sure if many people heard about that. And it focuses on the privacy computing. We had many discussions with them, and I'm quite looking forward for their progress and want to integrate their privacy computing as a service. So many other blockchains, they can just use that. And instead of all trying to spend a lot of resource, and so they can all focus on building new things. So those are the 3 things I really like. But I think there are definitely many other things just because I just didn't have the opportunity to get to know the team yet. But I want to learn more.
Thank you. I think it's very interesting from what I've noticed to a lot of listeners to listen to the opinion of people like you who make big projects, who are founders or developers of big projects. And it's interesting that actually a lot of the people we talk to name the same projects. And it's very ironic because it means that, we all think on the same line. Is there anything you want to add that we didn't ask you, maybe?
I really enjoyed this podcast because we got a chance to discuss many things, not just on technology, but also on I think on many aspects. So I really enjoyed this discussion. I really enjoyed this podcast. It's so different from all the other panels and the interviews I did.
Thanks for coming on, and we really did enjoy having you, and we will hope that maybe sometime in the future we will have somebody or you again from Iris and see how the progress has been over the year or so. Thanks everybody for listening, and thanks everybody for tuning in, and I hope you guys join us next time. And goodbye from us.